members of the faculty, members of the community, I bring you greetings, salutation from Boston, Massachusetts. I bring you greetings by way of the Democratic Republic of Congo, where we say, Bote Nabino. I bring you greetings from Francophone Africa, bonjour, and bring you greetings from African ancient wisdom by way of Swahili, Sisi Sote, Abaria, Deriva Namungu. The translation in English meaning, in this world, we are passengers. God is the driver. I'm deeply honored to be here. I want to thank you all so much for having me. Before I continue, I want to especially give a thanks to an incredible gentleman. Dr. Stan, please give it up for this man right here. Sorry, I'm kind of emotional right now because I think the ancestors are in the room, so I'm having a mental block. But I just want to thank everyone that made this happen. Do me a favor before I continue. Please turn to the person next to you. No, grab your finger, point at each other. Don't look at me. Point at each other. Repeat these words, all right? You have somebody who can point at each other. Now repeat this word. The gift that you have become the gift to your school. One more time. The gift that you have become the gift to your community. One more round. The gift that you have become the gift to humanity. Give it up for yourself. Come on. And as a poet, I got to add another proverb. Please repeat after me. When there's no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot hurt you. Let that sink in one more time. When there's no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot hurt you. Awesome. So back in Boston and beyond, now these days I do wear many hats involved in community activism, but these days I just call myself a community organizer for peace, social justice, and human rights advocate at the local and global level. I was born in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in the continent of Africa, and I also grew up between Gabon and Congo and had the blessing to grow up around many Africans from different parts of the continent, from Togo, Mali, Cameroon, Burkina Faso. And as once a continental African, I recall the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's connection to Africa. Because for us in the United States, we know that Dr. King had a profound impact outside of the U.S., beyond his Western Hemisphere, and made a profound impact to the international human rights movement. In the case of Africa, Dr. King's legacy as a global critical thinker stood in solidarity with African leaders in the late 50s and 60s who fought colonialism, tyranny, and exploitations of African natural resources, which in return contribute to American capitalism and European capitalism. So Dr. King spoke on that. He went on and spoke against racism in South Africa. He went to Nigeria, Egypt, and went to Ghana, and met Ghana Prime Minister Kwame Nkrumah. So Dr. King, broke bread with African leaders and made connections between the legacy of colonialism in Africa and the legacy of racism in the United States to simply inspire solidarity between Africa and the global African diaspora community, including African American. So it is with so much gratitude that tonight for me, I stand at the shoulder of a giant, but whose story began in America and went on to becoming one of the greatest American icons the world has ever known, who once said that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. So tonight, in 2017, as we honor the legacy of Dr. King, the fundamental question for us becomes, imagine what kind of America Dr. King will find you in. Do we display American patriotism when the mood suits us? We know that we are a nation of laws and ideology and whatever we want to call ourselves these days, but what kind of America Dr. King will find you in? Because every day Americans of all walks of life are on the battlefield, fighting for their humanity, running away from America, like the black community, running and hiding because institutional racism are chasing after them. Because mass incarceration are chasing after them. So every day they run and they see black men running away from America, hiding because mass incarceration are chasing after them. So they run. These black men run as they come across Muslim community who are also running and hiding and watching their back because Islamophobia are chasing after them. So what kind of America Dr. King will find you live in? Will it find Americans running and hiding? Because everyday Americans of all walks of life are on the battlefield for their humanity, like poor white folks who live in trailer park running away from America. As they see they run, they also see veterans running away from America. Population of disability running away from America. They see Latinos, Native Americans, Mexican and refugees, the minority population are all running and hiding, trying to live America because racial disparities and inequality and justices are chasing after all of them, and they all screaming, why is it so hard for the United States of America to live up to true democracy and embrace diversity? And they are running for multidimensional direction. So what kind of America Dr. King will find you in? Would it be an America of a new dawn of racial harmony? A new dawn of racial sobriety? You see, Dr. Clarence William in his book titled Racial Sobriety wrote, and I quote, "Racial sobriety is a commitment to see each person as my brother or sister in the same human family. Racial sobriety requires a self-awareness of our interaction with people to examine our prejudices regarding another racial caste rather than the membership in the human family." Which America Dr. King will find you in? Or which city in America Dr. King will find you live in? Will it be in the city of social justice? Or will it be in the city of hate? Because see, in the city of hate, xenophobia is the real enemy. Xenophobia meaning the fear of the foreigner, the fear of stranger, the fear of the unknown. Because in the city of hate, racism is a lifestyle which instigate cultural bias, racial stereotype, all the phobias, because many human groups are viewed as a threat to prosperity, a threat to security, and the dominant culture of European descent, aka the elephant in the room, white supremacy. But in the city of social justice, Americans remember the civil rights movement influence of the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which opened the door for the Voting Rights Act of 1965, then in return opened the door for the Immigration of Nationality Services Act of 1965, which dramatically opened entry to the U.S. to immigrate from South America, the Caribbean, Cuba, Asia, and the continent of Africa. So which American city Dr. King will find you in? Because in the city of social justice, American people study history, study Dr. King, because Dr. King stood up to racism and xenophobia because they operate on the basis of the profiling of different human being groups, making negative assumptions about each other. In the city of social justice, American dissect American history and realize that we have a long history of xenophobia that goes way back to when the intolerance of immigrants started with white-born Americans from Western European descent towards Native American, knowing full well that the real refugees were Westerners, Europeans, who were also of Irish, Italian, Greeks, German, British descent, and immigrants. So how do we have the audacity, as we honor the legacy of Dr. King, to act like we are not a nation of immigrants? So which American city Dr. King will find you in? Because in the city of social justice, Americans of all walks of life stand together as Americans and fight all systems of oppression, disparity, structural racism, demanding training of diversity and cultural competency cultural relevance in the criminal justice system, among law enforcement, and the healthcare system, and the United States mental health system, because in 2009 it was discovered that the United States mental health system was not equipped to provide mental health services to ethnic minority population due to the lack of training of diversity, cultural competency, and cultural relevance. Because you see, in a social justice, in a city of social justice, every day, every morning, when everybody wake up in that city and go out to the world to be a better human being, and everybody wake up in the morning and runs out to grab their morning coffee, not because America runs on Dunkin', but because America runs on Dr. King, to be awake, to regain energy, to continue the dialogue, because the healing continues. So we can become better allies to each other and hold each other's hand to combat our nation's sins as we are swimming and sinking in the deep ocean of structural racism, and we are swimming and sinking deep in the ocean of mass incarceration and poverty and healthcare disparities, the wars on the oppressed. We must hold each other's hand to swim back up, to head to the shores of democracy, the shores of human rights. So in 2017, it is time to change the narrative. Please turn to the person next to you and repeat after me. It is time to change the narrative.
Change the narrative.
Thank you. No more fear, deeply rooted in ignorance, from xenophobic stereotyping in the media, members of the press who perpetrate American image problem, influencing people's stereotype of different group of human beings. Therefore, we are being constantly fed negative stories and images via television, social media, consequently developing our own conscious and unconscious bias that perpetrate cultural and racial stereotype, and in return against each other. Living in America, that we have forgotten that in essence, the concept of race is a social construct. Because let it be known that we are one human race. The color of our blood is the same, and we need to make the human family whole again. So tonight,